We have talked a lot about sounds, and sometimes when you want to use the word sound, if you want to be very specific to a meaning, you have more technical words like phoneme, but we also use the word sound segment. And the adjective for segment would be segmental, but we also have another word in the same area in phonetics, which is suprasegmental. Suprasegmental is a word made of supra, the prefix, beyond, and segment, beyond the segment level. That's how you can understand the word. So we know that in language, and by language I mean spoken language, which is speech, we know that our speech is made up of consonants and vowels. You can look at language as a building and think of consonants as the bricks and the vowels as a mortar that connects the bricks together. So consonants and vowels join each other to form syllables. Every consonant or every vowel is a sound segment, but those are the minimal building blocks of language. By themselves, they can't do much. It's only when they join each other that they can form bigger blocks which can serve meaning and communication. The next block beyond a sound segment is a syllable. Then syllables are put together to form words and utterances. Utterances is like a unit of expression. That introduction was necessary in order to segue our way to suprasegmentals. In phonetics and phonology, suprasegmentals refer to a vocal effect that extends over more than one sound segment in an utterance. This includes pitch, loudness, perceived timing, juncture patterns. So I said vowels and consonants are segments, but then what is the level beyond those segments? Syllables. This is why a suprasegmental feature can be a feature of the syllable. So in a way, if you look at it the other way, a suprasegmental feature cannot function at a segment level. In a different definition, you could say suprasegmentals are phonological phenomena about the level of a segment compared to the other segments. You will get to suprasegmental features when you compare segments to each other. You put them in a contrast. One suprasegmental feature is length, for example. So you can understand the length of a vowel, for example. How long will you continue to pronounce a vowel? I can say bar, I can say bar. Obviously, in the second instance, I'm pronouncing the word longer because I'm lengthening the duration of the vowel. So length can be considered as a suprasegmental feature or as suprasegmental. But what does it mean to say a segment has more length? More length would make sense if it's compared to another vowel. So for example, if you want to say the word office, you could say the word aw. The vowel aw has more length than the vowel in is, like fis, office. But then here, length makes sense only when it's compared to the second vowel. So you can say the first vowel is longer than the second vowel. To make sense of it, you have to compare the segments. In order to clarify suprasegmentals, I need to go into an example. So for example, when I mentioned office, I said the vowel aw is longer than the vowels I. But we also know that the vowel aw in office is stressed in English. So it seems that in English, stress can affect length. Stress is a suprasegmental feature because it can only be understood if it's compared to another segment. But let's look at a standard definition. What is stress in English? In English, when a syllable is stressed, it can result in several things. For example, increased respiratory muscle activity. Exaggeration in sound segment, consonant and vowel properties such as vowel height and stop aspiration. So if I say pottery, the vowel pa gets aspirated or even strongly aspirated, not just because it's a pa before a vowel, but also because it's in a stressed syllable. But if we say stopper, stopper is not as much aspirated because it's not stressed. Although it's aspirated a little because it's a pa in the beginning of a syllable before a vowel, per, but it's stopper. So, but if you say pottery, there's more aspiration. Stress in English can also result in exaggerated pitch. It can make a low pitch lower, and it can make a high pitch higher. Stress in English is actually very important because it can have a grammatical function. For example, the word insult, if you pronounce it with the stress on the first syllable, would be a noun, but if you pronounce it with the stress on the second syllable, it would be a verb. A similar thing can happen in other words, such as pervert, pervert, overflow, overflow, etc. So you just change the stress. A stressed syllable in English is usually louder. Insult, insult. That was an example of stress, but that was an example of word stress. So now, when you're analyzing words with different syllables, if you consider every syllable as a segment, the comparative relation of those segments would be a suprasegmental feature, which is a stress. But you can look at stress at the sentence level, and then your segments could be words. In that case, the sentence stress is referred to as intonation. So that's another suprasegmental feature. So you can create contrastive emphasis at sentence level. For example, you can say, I have a black car, not a red one. So you can stress black. Why? Because you want to create contrast on the color. If you want to create the contrast on the noun, you can put the stress on a different word. For example, if you want to emphasize the noun, then you can say, I have a black bicycle, not a black car. So here the emphasis is on the nouns, which is bicycle and car. But in the first sentence, as you said, I have a black car, not a red car. These are examples of stress at word level and sentence level. So how does the feature pitch, which is also a suprasegmental feature, function? Pitch, or specifically voice pitch, can change with the rate of vibration of the vocal folds independently of stress. If you move your vocal folds faster, they will vibrate faster and they will produce a higher pitch because they will produce a higher frequency. The number of peaks, you can look at the previous videos for peaks of the waveform. So pitch is determined by the number of peaks in the waveform. Each peak is determined in turn by one opening and closing of the vocal folds, resulting in peaks of air pressure in the sound wave, and it determines the pitch. So this is where it becomes important. Pitch pattern at sentence level is called intonation, which is another suprasegmental feature. So when someone says the sentence, this is my father, which syllable has the highest pitch and which one has the lowest pitch? In most people's speech, the highest pitch will occur on the first syllable of father and the lowest on the second syllable of father, the last syllable in the sentence. This is my father. Now observe the pitch changes in the question, is this your father? In this sentence, the first syllable of father is usually on a lower pitch than the last syllable. Father in the declarative sentence, this is my father, the first syllable of father has a higher pitch than in the question, is this your father? In English, it is even possible to change the meaning of a sentence, such as that's a cat, from a statement to question without altering the word order. So you can say, that's a cat. This sentence intonation affects pitch. Children's voices have higher pitches, but they can generate intonation patterns similar to those of the grown-ups. Therefore, children's voices have higher pitches, but they can generate intonation patterns similar to those of grown-ups. Therefore, it is their relative values, not their absolute values, that matter linguistically. Yet their absolute values about the speaker's age, sex, emotional state, attitude towards topic, etc., which are non-linguistic information. So we know that children have higher pitches, okay? But the point is, if they have higher pitches, how can they produce, for example, a stress or sentence intonation? For example, this is my father. He might pronounce the fa in father with a higher pitch than I pronounce. What matters is the comparative value of fa in his speech to the comparative value of there in his speech. So this is what it means to say absolute value or comparative value or relative value. So within the speech of the same person who has a lower or higher pitch, the relative values of pitch can determine such suprasegmental features. The point is, now the relative values of pitch can give you linguistic information, but the absolute value of pitch can give you non-linguistic information. Another important thing is, in the IPA chart, a separate set of symbols are provided for suprasegmentals at the bottom right corner of the chart. For example, for length, you see you have length, half length, extra short, primary stress, secondary stress. These are suprasegmental symbols in the IPA chart.